I'm getting ready to leave on a bike packing trip in about a week, and there's a lot to do. Hey, before I get into the video, I just want to remind you to subscribe if you're not already, because apparently 66% of you who watch these videos are not subscribed. So click the subscribe button and hit the like button too, because that will help other people find my videos as well. If you want to do a little more to support this channel, consider buying something from the Dusty Betty shop, like a t-shirt or a Dusty Betty gear bag. You can also buy pretty much anything you need for your cycling related needs using my Dusty Betty partner links. And if you want to do a little bit more, consider becoming a patron. I'll include links to all of those in the description. So for my upcoming bikepacking trip, I'm going to be going from the south rim of the Grand Canyon all the way down to Sedona. It's about 150 miles, doing it over 3 days, which means we're going to be doing average about 50 miles a day. 50 miles every day is a lot to pedal, especially 3 days in a row, but I think it's going to be okay. I'll have all day to make the miles. They're not super technical miles, and especially because it's still winter and we are going to be rolling through some high-ish elevations, some of the single track will be closed and we'll be doing a combination of fire roads as well as single track. It's going to be cool. We're going to be riding a lot on the Arizona Trail, which is going to be cool. That'll be pretty epic to start at the south rim of the Grand Canyon with that whole amazing view, and we'll finish by dropping down off the plateau into Sedona. It's going to be epic. But there is a lot to do. I've still got to put in all my waypoints. I'm using Ride with GPS to create my route. It's going to be cold. I was checking the nighttime temperatures for this trip, and it's going to be in the 20s, which I've backpacked before in, -9 degrees, but I haven't done a bike packing trip where I'm carrying all the gear on my bike. So it's going to be a little bit different. I'm going to have a little more bulk that I'm going to need to pack onto my bike. So this preparation is going to be interesting because I'm going to have to get creative and do some things a little bit differently and maybe take some different and new bags with me. Well, today is Tuesday, and I'm supposed to leave bikepacking on Friday. I knew it was going to storm overnight, but this is rather more than I expected to see on the ground here in Sedona, which means there's probably quite a bit in Flagstaff. Now, that doesn't mean it's completely out of the question. I'm going to go do some recon tomorrow. A lot of it will just depend on what the temperatures are going to be like over the next few days, because if it gets warmer, if it hits 60 for several days up in Flagstaff, that may be enough to melt it off of the roads. The tough thing is I put a lot of preparation into this route, and one of the biggest things that's a challenge is figuring out reliable water sources. It feels a little rushed if we do another route, but I don't know, we'll figure it out. I'm not giving up hope because it might still be doable. We'll find out tomorrow. So it looks like Flagstaff is going to have too much snow for us to do our Grand Canyon to Sedona route. The roads that we need to pass through may be pretty sparse with snow by the time the weekend rolls around. However, it's probably going to be death mud, the stuff that just cakes on your tires and you just can't do anything with it, and that would be absolutely miserable on a bikepacking trip. So I kind of had to go back to the drawing board. I like to overplan my routes, so it's like, with only a couple days to plan a route. I put a lot of energy into that last night, but I think we got something cool. I picked a route that's kind of in the central Arizona area, like southeast of Phoenix, and it is a hybrid route, a combination of the Gila River Ramble, which is found on bikepacking.com, and also I've attached a segment of the AZT just north of the Ramble. So yeah, it's going to be like just under 100 miles, it looks like. It'll probably be one part soul destroying because there's going to be some tiring, exhausting climbs. I'm probably going to have to walk some of it because of how much water we're going to have to carry. It's going to be heavy with the bikes, but it's also going to be 2 parts spectacularly beautiful. It's a really, really, really pretty area, so I'm excited. We leave for our trip tomorrow. Exciting. So today is kind of the final packing day. Getting all my food stuff together. Just got a lot of mostly lightweight but high calorie food is kind of the goal. Sweet success. I've got my route for tomorrow downloaded on my Wahoo Element Bolt. This thing's awesome. It's pretty simple to use. I like the user-friendly side of it, and it's waterproof and pretty bulletproof, really. It's a nice, small, simple bike computer. I've got flats on my bike right now because this is what I've been using to practice like wheelies and things like that around home. So I'm gonna swap those because the clipless pedals really help the miles go by faster. This set of clipless pedals is pretty grimy, so I'm gonna rinse them with water and then set them out in the Arizona sun to dry. And I'd imagine within a half hour, they will be bone dry. Then I can put some Tri-Flow on them, little grease on the threads, and pop these bad boys on. I don't go too crazy when I put grease on the threads for my pedals. I just kind of wipe out the threads if there's any dirt or stuff that's managed to get in there. And then I just put a tiny, tiny amount, like less than a pea size amount on there. It's just so that because I do change the pedals quite frequently, that they don't completely seize up on me. I think I'm about at the point where I need to start getting stuff on the bike, on my gear, start putting things in the bags. I've had a hard time getting my head around like what to wear because we were packing for a trip where it was going to be really cold, like in the 20s at night. And now we're doing a trip where it's going to be maybe in the 30s at night and up to like the 80s in the daytime. I'm packing my sleeping bag and I thought this would be a good time to share a couple of my tips. This is a Western mountaineering bag. It's a 35-degree bag. Another good thing to be aware of is even though you check the temperature for the area you're planning to be in, sometimes just by the geography of the area, there are places where cold air sinks, or if you happen to just have to make camp somewhere where the water table is higher, that can bring the temperature down a bit. So, even within a small area, you can find temperature variances easily within about 10 degrees. We're expecting temperatures in the upper or mid 40s overnight. So I think a 35-degree bag will probably be about right for me. Another thing that I'll do that will help me if it does get a little bit chilly in some of our camp spots is that sleeping bags that have the baffles, these kind of horizontal stitches, this is a nifty little thing that I like to do. So the underneath side, I've got a nice warm sleeping pad, so I don't need a lot of insulation. So I will kind of open up my sleeping bag, and I'll shake the down more toward the top. Takes a minute to do that, but if you do that and then zip it closed, you've got more of your insulation on top of you. So if you've got a nice warm sleeping pad, that's a great way to get a little more toastiness out of your bag. Most of my bags are from Oveja Negra. They have a lot of really cool designs. Things like this half wedge pack I absolutely love. Some of the stuff they do is kind of fun off the wall. They'll do these ones called whack pack where they just use like all kinds of crazy colors. And these are actually kind of a new addition to my setup. And one thing that I would advise you when you get into bike packing is don't underestimate how much all the little different bags really add up. So these are called chuck buckets. You could put water bottles in them, you could put snacks in them, you could put really whatever you want. And things like this and the gas tank one and the wedge one, you think, oh, these are small, but all of that really, really adds up. It's crazy because I went from potentially not having enough room to being like, oh, I'm actually doing awesome. As I don't need, like my down jacket I don't think I'm going to bring and some of that other stuff. So I don't know. We'll see what the final configuration ends up being like, but I'll fast forward to the part where I'm done packing. Okay, here's the final verdict on the setup for my bike packing trip. It's hard to take your hands too far from the bars when you're bike packing because your bike is kind of heavy, but these make it pretty easy to drink while I'm still riding. I've also got 2 waters there and 2 more waters on my hip pack that I'll be wearing. One thing that's not a part of the Oveja Negra stuff is this toe peak. It's like a touring style or commuter style bag. I'm just using this top part, but when you open these pockets, there's these little pannier bags that fold down and probably come down to about here and give you a ton more space. I don't think I want that much weight back there for this trip if I don't need to. But it's really cool that is an option. I will say that they don't recommend this for carbon frames like mine, but these are Velcro straps that go around here that have like little rubber protectors and everything, and then you tighten this screw down to hold them in place. If you weren't being careful, you could definitely crunch a carbon frame, but I'm chancing it and I think it's gonna be fine. If you're wondering why a bag on a rack instead of the seat bag that I've run in the past, I just wanted to try it because when you have a seat bag, you can't really lower your seat very much. If you're lucky, maybe you get an inch or 2 of range, but it pretty quickly will start to buzz on your back tire. So that's why I wanted to try the rack and bag this time. This is a little wedge bag. This is the half bag by Oveja Negra. I've got the chuck buckets up here, and then I've got the lunchbox one up here, and then this, I think this dry bag, I'll have to check who makes this one, maybe Blackburn, I don't know. But it's cool because it's kind of like a thin but long one rather than like a short and fat one, because sometimes those can buzz on your front tire. It gets it up out of the way. And because of all the other places that I'm able to keep water, I don't have to have my big water bottle underneath here like I did in my last trip. So yeah, that's the final setup. It's gonna be good. Got the pedals on, I'm lubed and cleaned, and yeah. We're getting up really early. I think we gotta leave here around 5:40 a.m. I think that's pretty much it for this prep video. It's been a roller coaster. You know, when you want to get in the outdoors, you gotta be flexible. So I'm really excited though, and I will see you guys at the trailhead. Get dusty.